Hello, welcome to our Keyboard Accessibility Workshop. Today we'll be talking about what keyboard accessibility means, the features that are required, how to test for keyboard accessibility, and the tools to use. First off, let's talk about what keyboard accessibility means. It's also sometimes called keyboard-only access or keyboard navigation. It means that a user can get to all of the elements on a web page using only their keyboard. This is important because some users with disabilities are not able to use a mouse. So who uses a keyboard to navigate? Users who are blind and use screen reader software, users with low vision, and sighted users with injuries, paralysis, or mobility issues who can't use a mouse. Some may use an alternative input method. How does keyboard navigation work? There are several keys that can be used to navigate a web page. The most important one to remember is the Tab key. Tab takes you to all of the interactive elements on a page: links, menus, buttons. You can also use Enter like a mouse click or Shift Tab to go backwards. How critical is keyboard accessibility? It is absolutely crucial. We cannot stress this enough. If your site, app, or form doesn't function using only a keyboard, it will be impossible for some users to use. What features are required for keyboard accessibility? A skip to main content link, correct tab order, aka navigation order, all interactive elements are usable, no keyboard traps, and focus indicators. Let's look at each of these elements. You may have never noticed it before, but all accessible websites have a skip to main content link at the top. It only displays when a user is tabbing through a web page. When activated, it allows a user to bypass all of the repetitive content at the top. Otherwise, they would have to tab through all of the menu and sub-menu items on every page. On the slide is a screenshot of the keyboard accessibility page on the Digital Accessibility website. There's an arrow pointing to a skip to main content link at the top. If activated, it will take the keyboard focus to the main page content. Now let's talk about tab order. When you use the tab key to navigate, it should take you to all of the interactive elements on a web page. As you tab, you should generally move from left to right and top to bottom. Users should be able to get wherever they want to go on a page. If the tab order jumps around unexpectedly, it makes a page difficult to navigate. On this slide is a screenshot of WCAG's Understanding Success Criteria 2.1.1 webpage with the tab order tool turned on. The tab order tool displays a small label with a number that shows us what the tab order is on this page. Note, when number 1 appears to be missing, it's likely applied to the skip to main link, which may not be displayed if you didn't tab to it. What is a focus indicator? When a sighted keyboard user tabs through a page, they need a way to know where they are on the page. A focus indicator is a visual cue that shows them. The color and style of a focus indicator is usually set up by a web developer. On the slide are two screenshots with examples of focus indicators. On the left, an arrow points to the focus indicator on an activated drop-down menu on the Digital Accessibility website. It appears as a dashed black outline. On the right is the sidebar menu of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. An arrow is pointing to an activated item titled Keyboard Accessible, which appears as a black outline. The next requirement is that a keyboard user must be able to access all of the elements on a web page. They must be able to get to and use all interactive elements. This includes drop-down menus, pop-ups, form fields, radio buttons, toggles, iframes, etc. Elements that are not interactive should not receive keyboard focus when using the tab key. Here's a screenshot of the keyboard accessibility page on the Digital Accessibility Program website with examples of interactive and non-interactive content. Non-interactive elements are the things you can't click, like paragraph text. An arrow is pointing to the only interactive element on this segment of the page, which is a link to information for Mac users about how to enable tabbing. It is also important to mention that elements must function as expected. Tabbing to an element should not activate it. For example, when a keyboard user tabs to a submit button on a form, the submit button should become the focus and have a focus indicator, but tabbing should not submit the form. The last required feature we'll talk about is keyboard traps. A keyboard trap is when someone can get into an element on a web page but can't get out of it. And this is a WCAG failure. Users must be able to navigate in and out of elements, and they must be able to dismiss pop-ups. How can you test the keyboard accessibility of your content? Start by placing your cursor in the address bar. Then use the Tab key to go through all of the interactive elements. Mac users, if tabbing doesn't work, you may need to enable this feature in your browser settings. Here are a few other keys that you should learn how to use. Use Shift plus Tab to go backwards. Use Enter to select or activate an element. Use the up and down arrows to scroll through a page or navigate through options in a drop-down menu. Use Escape to dismiss pop-ups and expanded menus. Use the spacebar to toggle an element's state, like a checkbox, expand a drop-down, or activate buttons. Here are some things to look for while you're doing a keyboard test. Is there a skip to main content link? Can you get to all the elements, backwards and forwards? Does the tab order make sense? Can you see where you are at all times? Do you get stuck anywhere? Can you dismiss pop-ups? You might be wondering if there are tools you can use. Although checking keyboard accessibility requires manual testing by a human, there are some free tools that display the tab order for you. Wave, Tab Ally, and Accessibility Insights. Thank you for joining us today. I hope it was helpful. Here are a few additional resources.